Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into enterprise AI agent adoption, and we've got Swami Chandrasaran, head of the U.S. AI Center of Excellence for KPMG, with us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be working with clients on this.
Definitely, everyone's talking about AI agents, but are companies actually using them? You're seeing it firsthand. What's the reality?
Well, there's a ton of potential, and we're seeing a lot of early adoption, but it's still early days. It's not like every company has fully embraced agents.
Right, right. And, we wanted to talk to you specifically because of your background. You were an executive architect at IBM Watson. You hold over 30 AI patents. I mean, you're not just a consultant, right? You've got the technical chops, too.
I guess you could say that, yeah. I mean, I think that having that technical background really helps me understand what's possible and also what some of the challenges are when it comes to actually implementing this stuff.
So let's start with the basics for people who are maybe just hearing about this now. What are AI agents? How are they different from, say, a simple chatbot?
So think about a chatbot, right? You ask a question, it gives you a response. It's pretty straightforward. But an agent is actually designed to achieve a goal. It can take action.
Okay, so it's not just responding to your prompts, it's actually like doing things.
Exactly. It's like imagine giving a large language model tools and then some reasoning power, right? It can understand your instructions, break them down into tasks, and even choose the right tools to complete those tasks.
So you're saying it's like giving those LLMs a purpose and tools to act on it, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And RAG is a good example, retrieval augmented generation.
RAG, I've heard that, but I don't totally get it. What did that mean in practice?
Okay, so a typical LLM, it has a fixed knowledge base. It only knows what it was trained on. But with RAG, we can connect it to external sources of information like documents, databases, all sorts of things. So if you ask it a question, it can actually go out and find the answer and then use that in its response.
Ah, so it's like giving it access to this giant library it can pull from whenever it needs to then.
Yeah, precisely. And that's just one example. We can also give agents the ability to interact with other software, execute commands, make decisions based on the data they're accessing.
That sounds powerful, but it also sounds like there are a lot of different types of agents, right? Not just one size fits all. You've got a framework, the TACO framework, to help understand this. Can you explain that?
Yeah, TACO stands for Taskers, Automators, Collaborators, and Orchestrators. It's basically a way to think about the different levels of complexity and capability.
Okay, let's break that down, starting with the simplest. What are taskers?
Taskers are designed to handle a single, well-defined task, like scheduling a meeting across time zones, booking travel, generating a report, things that might normally involve multiple steps and applications. A tasker can automate that whole process.
So streamlining those everyday tasks that take up so much time then.
Yeah, exactly. And that can free up people to focus on more strategic work. But we can also think bigger. That's where automators come in.
Okay, how are automators different?
Automators are designed to handle those more complex cross-system processes. Like, imagine an agent that manages the entire order-to-cash process or employee onboarding, things that usually involve a lot of handoffs and back and forth between departments.
Wow, the potential for efficiency there is huge.
Yeah.
So what about collaborators? They sound like they work with humans rather than replacing them.
Exactly. Collaborators are designed to work alongside humans, providing real-time assistance, insights, recommendations. Think of it like having an AI teammate who can help you make better decisions and navigate complex information.
That's interesting. So augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them.
Yeah.
And then we have orchestrators at the top, right? The most complex type.
Yeah, orchestrators are like the conductors of the agent orchestra. They manage and coordinate the actions of multiple other agents, like taskers, automators, collaborators, to achieve some really complex goal.
So like they're the masterminds behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly.
That's a good way to put it. They're delegating tasks, monitoring progress, making adjustments as needed.
Fascinating. It really helps to understand that there are different levels of complexity. But are companies actually building and using these agents? Where are we in terms of real-world adoption?
I'd say we're seeing a lot of experimentation, especially with those simpler taskers. There are a lot of low-hanging fruit where you can quickly implement an agent to automate a repetitive task and see immediate benefits.
But what about the more sophisticated types? Are we seeing automators, collaborators, orchestrators in action yet?
We are seeing some early examples, but it's still early. I mean, the technology is developing so rapidly. Companies are still figuring out the best ways to use these more complex agents.
So there's a lot of potential, but it's going to take time for it to really play out.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And that's why it's important to have realistic expectations, right? It's not about jumping on the bandwagon. It's about taking a strategic approach, understanding the capabilities and the limitations, and then identifying the right use cases for your business.
That sounds like good advice for any new technology, but especially in a field as complex as AI.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have the right guidance and expertise. You need to understand what's possible, what's realistic, and how to approach this in a way that makes sense for your organization.
So we've talked about what AI agents are, the different types, but how do companies actually prepare for this? What should they be thinking about?
One of the first things is understanding why you're even doing this, right? It's not about just chasing the latest tech trend. It's about solving real business problems.
To start with the problem, not the solution, basically.
Exactly. What are those pain points? Are there processes that are just super inefficient or maybe error prone or taking up way too much employee time? You got to have a problem in mind before you even think about what kind of agent could help.
That makes sense. Be strategic, intentional. Okay, you've got your problem. What's next?
Data.
Data, right?
Yeah.
The fuel of AI. It's got to be crucial for agents, too.
Absolutely. Agents need data to learn, make decisions, take action. So you got to ask yourself, do we have the right data? Is it in a format that agents can use? Can they access it easily? These are big questions.
Yeah, especially for companies with older systems or data all over the place. That's a challenge.
It is, but it's a challenge you got to address early on. No data, no agents. It's that simple.
So, problem, data, what else? What about the people involved?
Right. One mistake companies make is thinking this is just a technology thing. It's not. You need human expertise throughout the process, translating business needs into technical specs, making sure those agents fit into how people actually work.
It's interesting. We hear a lot about AI replacing jobs, but here it sounds like human expertise is even more important.
For sure. It's not about replacing people. It's about augmenting what they can do. You need people who understand those processes inside and out, the nuances, the potential problems. That's how you make agents that really help, not hinder.
So technology enhancing humans, not the other way around. But what about like controlling these agents, making sure they're doing the right thing?
That's governance, and it's huge. As agents get more powerful, more autonomous, you got to have clear rules, guidelines, data privacy, security, ethical considerations, legal stuff, and there needs to be a way for humans to step in when necessary.
So build them responsibly, not just build them, period.
Exactly. And that responsibility goes beyond the initial build. You need a plan for monitoring maintenance. How are you tracking performance? What about bias errors? How do you keep those agents aligned with your goals as things change?
Sounds like a lot to consider even before you get to the nitty-gritty of building the agents themselves.
It is. It's multifaceted, but if you get those fundamentals right, you're setting yourself up for success down the line.
Good foundation, like building a house. Got to have
Yeah.
that first.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've laid the groundwork. Now how do you actually build these things?
Well, there are a few paths you can take. Building from scratch, using open source stuff, using commercial platforms with pre-built components, even buying pre-built agents for specific tasks.
A lot of choices. How do you choose the right one?
Swami talks about a polyglot approach. Basically, be opinionated, have your preferences, but stay flexible. There's no one-size-fits-all here. Understand the strengths and weaknesses of each approach. Pick the best tool for the job.
So strategic, but adaptable.
Exactly. And remember, this tech landscape is constantly changing. New tools popping up all the time. What's best today might not be best tomorrow.
How do you keep up with that then? It's moving so fast.
Focus on building a solid foundation, reusable components, a clear architecture that makes it easier to adapt as new tech comes along. And stay informed, go to conferences, read what the experts are saying, all that.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It's ongoing, but if you want to stay ahead of the curve, get the most out of your agents, you got to put in the effort.
So you build your agents, they're out there doing their thing. What then? What happens next?
That's day 2 plus operations, and it's critical. Building is just the start. You need a plan for maintenance, monitoring, optimization. Are they performing as expected? Any biases popping up? Are they still aligned with your goals? This stuff doesn't just run on autopilot.
Sounds like maintaining these agents is a whole other job.
It is. It requires a different skill set than the initial build.
Yeah.
You need people who can analyze how they're behaving, spot issues, make adjustments. It's an investment, but it's an investment in the future of your organization.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the practical side of things, but what about the people using these agents, the employees? How do you manage that transition?
That's huge, and it's something Swami really emphasizes. This isn't just about new technology, it's about changing how people work, how they interact with tech, how they see their own roles. It's a big shift.
Yeah, that's a big shift. So how do you do it right? How do you make that transition smooth?
Communication is key, right? Got to be transparent. Employees need to understand why the company's doing this. What are the benefits? How will their jobs change? Address those concerns head on, explain how agents will help them, not replace them.
It's about framing it as a tool, not a threat.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a mindset shift for everyone, leadership, employees. It's about humans and agents working together, each bringing their strengths to the table.
Okay, but how do you actually get people comfortable working with, I don't know, their new AI teammates?
Training, education, that's huge. People need to learn about agents, how they work, how to use them. Basic introductions to more specific training on the tools and platforms. It's about empowering them to succeed in this new environment.
So giving them the knowledge and skills they need.
Yeah.
But it's not a one-time thing, right? This stuff is always evolving.
Oh, absolutely. It's ongoing, continuous learning. As the tech changes, so do the skills needed to work with it. Companies got to invest in that, keep their workforce adaptable.
Makes sense. What else can companies do to make this transition easier?
Get people involved early. Get their feedback. Include them in the design process, Ask what tasks they want automated, what are their pain points, how can agents help?
So it's not just something being done to them, they're part of the process.
Exactly. When people feel like they have a voice, they're way more likely to embrace the change, see agents as a good thing.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so communication, training, early involvement, feedback, anything else?
Yeah, you got to keep monitoring, evaluating. Don't just assume everything's fine once the agents are deployed. Track how they're being used, what's the impact on workflows, are they achieving the goals, and be ready to adjust based on what you learn.
So flexibility, adaptability, same as with the technology itself.
Exactly. This isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a journey, right? Constant attention, refinement, learning as you go.
That's a great point to wrap up on. I mean, it's clear from our deep dive here that enterprise agent adoption has huge potential, but it's not without its challenges.
It's an exciting time, though, We're seeing this convergence of technology and how we work. It's reshaping everything.
And Swami's insights have been so valuable, really laying out a roadmap for how to do this right.
Yeah, his focus on human expertise, the ethical considerations, taking a strategic approach, it's all critical for success.
So whether you're just starting to explore agents or you're already on the path to adoption, remember, it's not just about the technology.
It's about the people.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon to explore more cutting-edge AI topics. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.